EFCC today staged perhaps its biggest single bust since it was set up about 20 years ago. And tonight, Nigerian UK-based controversial Pastor Tobi, known to be leading a church of young black people in the United Kingdom facing deportation charges and other issues, is my guest tonight on the program. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Abuja. Let's begin with what perhaps is seen as the biggest single bust by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. And it's been staged today. The commission announced a landmark arrest of a total number of 792 suspects for offenses bordering on cryptocurrency, investment fraud, and romance scam. EFCC Director of Public Affairs Wilson Owajaren, who spoke to journalists today at the Commission's office in Lagos, says the suspects were apprehended on Tuesday, 10th December 2024, in a surprise operation at their hideout, an imposing 7-story edifice known as the Big Leaf Building on number 7 Oyinjolayemi Street, Victoria Island in Lagos. According to Owajaren, he says, quote, the breakthrough followed actionable intelligence and months of surveillance and monitoring the activities of the syndicate. Among the foreigners arrested are 148 Chinese, 40 Filipinos, 2 Kazakhstans, 1 Pakistani, and 1 Indonesian. He says investigation established that the foreign nationals used a facility at 7 Oyinjolayemi Street, which could be mistaken for a corporate headquarters of a financial establishment, to train their Nigerian accomplices on how to initiate romance and investment scams, and also use the identities of Nigerians to perpetrate their criminal activities. Well, a lot of controversies trailed the activities and the recent spotlight by the UK's Charity Commission on the activities of Spark Nation and its leader, Pastor Tobi in the United Kingdom. It's sometimes seen staging marches on the streets of the United Kingdom, but recently the eyes of the UK government had caught some of his activities, and they are asking for further transparency in the books of his church. Tonight, we shall be speaking with him. He's a Nigerian, and interests are there about what is happening to him and the allegations of perhaps the issues of deportation. But first, before we get to having the conversation, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
President Bola Tinubu today chaired the Federal Executive Council. After the FEC meeting, the Minister of Information confirmed today's FEC is the last meeting and that FEC will be on recess from the 18th of December to the 6th of January 2025. He said the federal government will commence a nationwide free train service from the 20th of December to the 5th of January 2025. He also announced that the federal government has renamed the University of Abuja to Yakubu Gowon University. The National Assembly is considering moving President Bola Tinubu's budget presentation to Wednesday. According to the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, only the National Assembly can decide when the President will present the budget to the legislators. He said there's an ongoing engagement with the National Assembly, saying it is likely that the date for the presentation of the 2025 appropriation bill will be on Wednesday. The Supreme Court has dismissed the lawsuit seeking the removal of President Bola Tinubu from office. The suit filed by the presidential candidate of the Hope Democratic Party in the 2019 general elections, Mr. Ambrose Awuru, sought Tinubu's removal based on Central Intelligence Agency and drug allegations. Awuru, who contested the 2019 presidential election against former President Muhammadu Buhari on the platform of the Hope Democratic Party, was ordered to pay 5 million naira to President Bola Tinubu. Justice Abaji issued the order against the former presidential candidate while dismissing his fresh suit praying for the removal of Tinubu as president. A group under the auspices of the Independent Media and Policy Initiative is urging northern elites and governors to embrace the federal government's tax reform bills. The group, which comprises of intellectuals drawn from the media, including public and private sector players, gave their position during a media briefing in Abuja. A former Commissioner for Information and Strategy in Adamawa State, Mr. Ahmad Sajo, explained that the bills would benefit all Nigerians in terms of revenue generation, enterprise development and enhancement of citizens' purchasing power. A coalition of People Democratic Party Youth for Good Governance has expressed concern over the management of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Speaking during the press briefing in Abuja, the group's coordinator, Mr. Ikemba Chidozie, called on Mr. Adedeji to prioritize his responsibilities at the agency and ensure professionalism. The coalition urged the FIRS chairman to restore efficiency and accountability within the institution. And the Executive Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, Mr. Clement Wanko, is advocating a new electoral body that citizens can trust in the forthcoming 2027 general elections. Mr. Clement made the call at a media parley in Abuja, where he reveals that a recent poll conducted by the organization shows that citizens' confidence in election management has waned. He also urges President Bola Tinubu to urgently begin the process of setting up a new leadership structure for the INEC in 2025.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get to it. Tonight, we turn our focus to a figure who has stirred both admiration in some quarters and controversies in equal measure. Joining us is Pastor Tobi Adigboyega, the UK-based Nigerian cleric and founder of the SPAC Nation, a church renowned for its unorthodox approach to evangelism and his appeal to young people. However, Pastor Tobi's leadership has not been without scrutiny, as he now faces probes into the financial operations of the church and allegations ranging from financial misconduct to undue influence over church members. Tonight, we have a one-on-one conversation with him, aiming to explore the man behind the headlines. Is he a misunderstood visionary transforming lives, or did the accusation and the allegation reflect deeper concerns about his ministry? Pastor Tobi will address these allegations, share his perspectives on his work, some of the issues relating to the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom, offering insight into the controversies surrounding the SPAC Nation. Nigerian Pastor Tobi Adegboyega has dismissed claims that he was about to be deported from the UK, where his church is facing allegations of financial misconduct. He's the leader of the SPAC Nation, Salvation Proclaimer Ministry Limited. That's what it's called, now known as a Nation Family. He joins me now live from the UK. Pastor Tobi Adegboyega, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Sean.
Let's begin the conversation. You are a pastor. That is what a lot of people know you for. But in the Christendom, in the Christian community globally, there are those who will say you need to establish your calling. How were you called? Where did you get a calling? And how did you start this ministry of yours?
Well, I came to the UK 2005, but I'm a pastor's son from Nigeria. And I've been preaching since I was 8 in my dad's church. And so the details of where I was called, I think God's call over a person's life is based on the need of a generation. So what I've done and what I yielded to was the need for a generation, especially those that I met in what you will call the diaspora. I met kids that were going off rail, kids from Nigerian descent killing themselves over drug trade. 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and I responded to the call of my community at the time, Queens Road, Peckham, 2005. That was about 20 years ago. So to detail and dovetail my call, if anybody would ask, I want them to remember that Martin Luther King Jr. was a pastor. And so the manifestation of our call is response to the generational call, the pressing issue of each day.
So the question will be, the manner in which you operate your church has been described as unorthodox, something that is sometimes strange to how Christianity or the Christian church in several places are being run. Why do you decide to run your own church in a way that has caused a stir in the Christendom?
Okay, the intention was not to cause a stir. The intention was to be effective. The current Pentecostal movement, which is just about the Azusa Street Pentecostal movement, which is just about 100-year-old, causes death. So the call of the day, times are never the same forever. So they can say it's unorthodox, but the question is it effective? Did it get people out of gangs? Did it get knives off the street? When I came to the UK, and still till recent years, pastors' kids were gang leaders. It's public knowledge. I took these guys off the street, and we realized that it's not just taking them off the street. You have to now create things for them to do. I understand that that is unorthodox. It is strange. It doesn't look like the church. But right there where the churches were, people were killing themselves on those streets. We can't turn a blind eye at that. I think that would be unfair to the name of Christ and to the kingdom takeover, which the church is supposed to be about. The church is not about gathering. It's about kingdom, making sure God's kingdom spreads through the earth and through all industries.
Your character and the manner in which you portray yourself, luxury, expensive cars, expensive watches, there are those who say these are some of the traits that makes people think, wait a minute, is this a pastor in the real sense of it? Why do you exhibit those traits?
Well, I'm a pastor, but I'm also Tobi first. So I'm not sure about expensive clothes. I just wear clothes. And like every other person who put on their clothes and go to parties or wherever they go to, I put on clothes. But most importantly, in the BBC documentary in 2020, they explored, they came to my house to see the work we're doing. They were in my house for many days. That is real investigation. And then contacted to know, why do you do these things? And I said to them, again, when we came, we saw how the drug dealers attracted a lot of young people. We wanted to divert their attention from drug dealers to leaders who are effective in the community. And it's produced the results we wanted. We took 63 knives off the street in 2018. We doubled that in 2019. And that is double the figure of what the Metropolitan Police are doing. And I support the Metropolitan Police. They are very effective. But we did way more. And they attest to these things. My system is my system. My look is my look. I don't want to be someone else. I don't want to dress like them. And I said on BBC, what is the price of a clothes to private jet? So a person, and I'm not disputing however a person decides to spend their money, but what is a clothes to a jet? Really? What is a clothes to the crown the Catholic Pope wears? It's $10 million.
Let me ask you, you've been seen at nightclubs where perhaps those who say these are places you often find unbelievers, people whom you will say does not portray the Christ-like, like the book of Acts of the Apostles, where those who saw those who were following Jesus in Antioch said, these are people who look like Christ. And then those who will say, does this portray what you preach? A pastor in a nightclub dancing to worldly music, as people would describe it? How do you explain such?
Okay, first of all, I've never been seen in a nightclub. That is the figment of the imagination of certain people. I've never been seen in a nightclub. It's not happened once before. I've been seen in restaurants with some of my friends who are musicians from Nigeria. They come, we go eat, but certainly not in a nightclub. However, I must also point out that those who are well do not need physicians. I've had a 20-year record of staying true to the message of Christ that we preach. We've seen many lives change. We've raised leaders. Our houses, we have 50 houses across the nation. You will see young, God-fearing pastors. Last week, Sunday, we ordained about 32 new young pastors with a standard of conduct. So, and that is because they've been following their leaders. Some of them are top scientists in the nation now, some of them CEOs. Well, I took them from prison. I took them from gangs. That is the thing people should focus on. But I've not been seen in nightclubs. Nobody can come up with evidence of that.
Let me ask you, there are those who will say, if you are a true Christian leader, you need to have someone who has mentored you or someone who is saying as your spiritual father. Who is yours?
That's my father. I have a father. I have a biological father, Prophet Dr. Deportation. I follow the Pentecostal move very much. I'm probably the most versed person in Pentecostal move in Nigeria and in the US. At my age, I think I'll be a leading figure in authority on that. And I've followed that for a long time. And there are names I don't want to mention, but I have a father. I grew up, I preached my first message at the age of 8, and I've been preaching the same thing ever since then. So if I still believe the concept of spiritual father as portrayed by the Nigerian church, I'm not sure I do so. But I have people that I talk to, people that I weigh doctrine, people that I debate doctrine with to know what is sound and what is not sound. And I'm always open to correction.
Are you worried that sometimes your message is seen as negating your lifestyle, the manner in which your association with people? Are you confusing people in the manner you move?
No, actually, if people were true to the gospel of Christ, they will realize that they call them friends of sinners. That's what is in the Bible, isn't it? Friends of sinners and all these things. And that's his name. And he spoke to a generation. He said, what should we do with this generation? He said, when we came, the Son of Man came dancing and eating, you called him names. Another one came, Elijah came, and he was in the wilderness, looking boring, looking whatever way you want to call it, and they still didn't accept it. So I can't be concerned about how people view things. Opinions are cheap, facts are sacred. And so the fact of the work is, if you come close to us, you'll see the result. The country cannot deny it. There is no prime minister that can deny it. There is no leader in this nation right now that can deny the result of the work we've done. When the Metropolitan Police leadership came to the church, that was about 3 years ago, they sat down, they were in the church, it's public knowledge. They asked us to come. Normally, dignitaries go to church to associate in UK, to associate with black people. No, they came to learn. They invited me to teach them, then they came to learn. It is our result. How many lives have been saved? How many knives did we take off the street? How many businesses did we create for this economy? How many taxpayers' money did we save them? Because they spend millions on one homicide. We took many of them out of that lifestyle and we gave them a better lifestyle. The results speak louder than the system that we use. Our system is different.
Let me ask you, is Park Nation a cult group?
It is not a cult group. Cults don't operate in the open. We operate in the open.
Apart from your father, whom you say is your spiritual mentor, who in Nigeria is also one person that you would say you are modeling your lifestyle or your ministry after?
I would rather not. I would rather not model. I love them all, and I'm sure we have a movement that is fading away. We have a movement that is passing away. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just that there are new frontiers. The people that are there now, they were new frontiers, and I stand on the path that there is a change needed, and we're all standing for the change, the remodeling of the church, because I believe in the church of Christ. However, I also believe that the status quo must change, and we are new frontiers for what the new church of Christ will look like.
And who are these people? You said there are a few of them that you look up to.
I don't think I'll mention them because I respect, not look up, I respect people. I respect those who lead the cause for change, societal change, not just forward change.
In 2005, you arrived in the UK.
Yeah.
But in all of these years, the UK judges have described your stay in the UK as illegal, stating that your claims about your ministry and work there are, quote, grossly inflated, quote, hyperbolic, and lack substantive evidence. How do you explain or maintain your stay without regularizing your immigration status in the United Kingdom? Are you staying illegally there?
No, and that is the misleading part of the report. We had a 7-hour tribunal, 7 hours. And in the tribunal, I was given about a few minutes to talk about any immigration stuff. They wanted to talk about Spark Nation. And we defended the honor of Spark Nation, which is not even why we were there. And so it is not illegal to still have a case in court, to put facts on the table. Judges may disagree and they may not be wrong, but that is why we have a system that continues to query and make inquiries into things until certain facts are established. But I can assure you right now that these facts are being established, is seen more clearly, and we are winning on every side.
But in that court, you argued against deportation. If you say deportation is not the meat of the matter, you're citing community contributions and you're married to a British citizen. You said, given the tribunal's decision against you, that you are not worried. Do you believe this reflects systemic bias or your failure to present sufficient evidence?
It's many years case. And the reason why we suspect systemic biasness is you can't say your claims are inflated without giving me the proof as to why. Your own institutions, the Metropolitan Police from the Scotland Yard, sat down in the church. Do they go to churches? Why are they there? The Metropolitan Police from the Scotland Yard gathered all the charities in the UK, the major charities, and asked them to go to Spark Nation. I wrote for the Home Office. I wrote solutions for the Home Office. I was part of the Race Disparity Committee for number 10 during Theresa May's days. Why am I there? I've never wanted to work with government. I don't like working with government on some occasions. Why are we there? When we got to Croydon, we never knew where Croydon was. When we got there, we reduced knife crime by 50%. It's on record. So if you then turn that against me and say they are inflated, I'm asking, show me the proof that they are inflated. Because we cannot just base truth on subjective matters. Truth must be backed with fact. We have facts. We have, and more than all the paperwork, we have lives. I've got the largest followership of young people still till today, after all the persecution for more than 10 years. 10 years we've been persecuted without one single proof, allegations without one indictment. So why should we not suspect biases?
Well, in all of this, why would you say, or what makes you think that there is a system bias against you? Why do you think that you are being singled out in all of this?
We had a situation where people believed that I was supporting a certain political party. We were in Croydon doing our work. All the political parties were in our church. The first letter, by the way, that we received from Charity was that I should not be biased towards a political party. They didn't do no investigation. What they didn't know was the service they were referring to, all major political party holders and seekers were in that service. One person, because the person believes that my agenda was to go against the gay community. That's his belief. And from that day, we at the reconciliation meeting, leaders, pastors in the UK were there. But he believes, and he wrote it, so it's public knowledge, that my evangelical zeal was to make sure that the gay community in that area does not survive. Now, it took a dossier, according to him, of evidences against the church to the sacred ground of the parliament in the UK. And they submitted it to the to the Internal Affairs Minister or something like that, who submitted it to the police. And the police came back to say they can't even investigate one thing because it's all nonsensical. That is why we believe that the same person, because he's an MP, he's the same person sitting behind these things, making sure that he's not defeated. But we've said, and I said on BBC, that if there is any honor left in a system like this, what such men should do is to apologize, unless you are saying the police authority of Great Britain is inept, which will be quite unfortunate.
So, in essence, there are those who allege that you frolic or you have a close association with the Conservative Party. Do you?
Well, there are those. I was sitting right at the back of the former minister in one of their convention. And what I've always done is to make sure that I advocate for our community, the Black community in the UK. to make sure when those, because remember, I'm taking these guys out of a certain lifestyle. I cannot just dump them into the hope of going to heaven. We're still living on earth. So those who want to go into politics, those who want to go into business, I have to create relationships that can help them. So I was in that convention, and I was given the privilege to sit behind the Prime Minister at the time, the Conservative Party. We had issues, and we invited other parties, and the Conservatives came to try to help. But we are way above any political party right now. We have a much solid system.
You're falling apart, falling out rather with the Conservative Party. Do you think that is exactly, in stating it plain and clear, that is exactly the problem you're having right now?
Not at all. The person attacking us is not even Conservative Party, but it's another party. So, but area by area, I believe completely that our problem was politically motivated, and the facts are there. I'm not saying things without facts. We were not fighting the gay community at the time. We were not fighting, but yes, I had people who wanted to be in that seat, in that area, and I still believe they are more qualified. And so, can you imagine that over the years, you're saying Spark Nation has this allegation of millions of pounds. You have not indicted anybody. The police has not invited anybody. And you now, after all that, you're not touching me. You then go into deportation. Does that not look like you're looking for anything? And then, not just the deportation, the moment they write the judgment, it has to be broadcasted. People have issues every day. I can mention Nigerian leaders or UK leaders or even Russian leaders or leaders from other countries that have had this problem in the UK. But Pastor Tobi's one has to be broadcasted, has to be written, the whole world has to know. And so that's why we believe what we believe.
Are you afraid of deportation?
Not in any way. I've been here for 20 years. People should go and ask. My records here are clean. I stand tall above the nations. Not one single criminal offense. After all the noise. And so we've achieved what we need to achieve in the UK. 140 businesses is what I've added to this economy. It's public knowledge. 140 plus businesses. And so to live anywhere else would be a pleasure, but I'm going to get what rightfully belongs to us.
You said you're not afraid of deportation, and that two shoes could sustain you in Nigeria for years if you were deported. This suggests that you have some confidence in your wealth. What is your net worth? What is your major source of income?
Well, I don't have no net worth. What I know for sure is that I've raised people. They've done well. I brought them from prison and made them into multi-millionaires. The testimonies are public. I've raised people. I've sent them. They've become CEOs of large corporations in the UK. So I'm not a person that believes in wealth. I believe in people, and I've raised a lot of people. If anybody knows us around the world, they will know us for raising people, having men and women. I've supported over just the last 2 years, 250 SMEs in Nigeria with 1 million naira each. Those businesses are doing well. The shoe one, I was just playing about.
So, I mean, you've not said what your source of income is really. What is it? What do you do for a living?
The source of income, we started businesses. We raised companies here. And so what we do is that we invest in little businesses and watch them grow. That is what sustains us here, even as a church, because we don't take tithe and offering. We watch these businesses grow, these businesses pay us back, and we grow thereby.
Let me ask you, your case is not yet settled. That means deportation issue are still on a discussion and argument. The issues relating to the finances of the church is also still an argument. What is your faith, and what do you make of what is going on? It does look like your faith is hanging in the balance.
No, my faith is settled. I can assure you of that. But let me start with the finance one. The finance situation of the church is long gone. You cannot investigate an organization for 4 years and close the case, and anybody is still peddling that is happening. No, on the BBC interview, which was 1 hour, by the way, I asked them to ask the charity if you are saying these things, which I then discovered that the BBC didn't even read the charity report, the charity never mentioned fraud. We are asking the Charity Commission, and the BBC has written to them to say, what exactly is this allegation? It can never be substantiated.
But the allegation are to the tune of about 1.87 million pounds, which is linked to Spark Nation, and the allegation is that you're lacking transparency. And the Charity Commission, this is not the first time, we've seen at least 1 or 2 Nigerian churches that are linked to Nigerian owners or founders that have been shrouded in this kind of controversy about their books and transparency. Have you been able to settle the dust in terms of explaining how these funds have been spent, how these books are being judged in terms of how you executed the books, in the inflows and the outflows? Are you able to settle it tonight?
We've settled it, but I can settle it with you right now. The Charity Commission did not close us down for that. What happens is when you register as a charity, you have to prove that you can make £5,000 a year. Now, we don't take donations, and we've explained to them, you cannot ask someone from another religion to come and audit a church as unorthodox as us. You've got to give us the chance to be heard. They saw it, so they closed it down because the following year, we didn't take tithe and offering. We stopped doing that. And so it is lawful for them also to then shut us down because we are not doing £5,000 a year as donation, because that's not what we want to do. These things are consistent with what charities say. The adding up of 1.9 is the figment of imagination. Charity never mentioned that.
It was the UK Home Office, actually. It was the UK Home Office who raised that concerns about the financial misconduct with allegations of 1.87 million pounds.
BBC has now done a documentary, and if the UK Home Office has any honor remaining, they should challenge what I'm saying, any bit of honor. So don't let's be deceived that because it's UK Home Office, they don't know their fact. But the question is this: this is an advanced country. There is 1 point something missing. It's been 4 years. Who has been invited by the police? Who has been indicted? How can you say 1 point something million is not accounted for, but be free, you're okay? But deportation, we'll make sure we hold you on this. We've asked them for facts and figures, which they are still lacking. BBC themselves have written them, they are quiet. And guess what? They'll be quiet forever because it's not true. They did not add these figures up right. We have 10 years of receipts with the charity. There is no black organization. I don't know the pastors you're talking about, but I can guarantee you that as far as the UK is concerned, none of them is as popular as me. So there is nothing I can do in hiding. Absolutely nothing. Everything is everywhere.
When are you regularizing your immigration status in the UK? When would you do that?
It's been regularized right now. The people that did what they did, they are all running helter-skelter, and you've got to give it some more time. I believe by all means, they just wanted to embarrass the work. What they want to do is to see young people go back to the streets, get back into drug dealing, because there's nothing they can hold up on me. They've now printed that out, but I can assure you that the lawyers and their lawyers are talking, and the right apologies will be done in the right time. I can assure you of that.
Let me, you mentioned something relating to homosexuality. You are a pastor. What is your view based on biblical teachings on homosexuality?
Well, I know this will get me into more trouble, but I don't mind. I already have enough trouble. I believe it's a man and a woman. I have no doubt about that. I have no shaking about it. And I was one of the first people to reject, when we were still in SC1, 6BD, to reject the notion that the churches have to join different couples. It's not going to happen to us, and I understand that this will also get me into more trouble. Who knows what they will come up with tomorrow, but definitely I believe it's a man and a woman, and a man and a woman it should be.
Let me quickly ask you, Spark Nation has faced a lot of allegations of cult-like behavior from former members of your church, including claims of manipulation and coercion. There are, in fact, those who said they are afraid and too scared to come out because they fear that gang members are going to come after them. They, in fact, some of them allegedly say, you are dangerous. If they come out, you're going to come after them. How do you explain this?
All I can say, and BBC asked me the same question, is there are disgruntled members in every organization, the BBC, Barclays Bank, any company in the world. When people leave, they have a lot to say sometimes. But what we did was we set up a panel, independent panel, to look into people's claims so that we can correct and become a better organization ourselves. I asked the UK government, when Catholic Church have their allegations, which they still have till now, did you shut them down? No. We set up correctional things so that we can regulate. This is thousands of people. There will be issues. Nobody came out. And we've asked the government, when people have issues, do you report to the police or you report to internet or BBC? These people went to BBC, or BBC called them. Some went to internet, whereas we could solve these things even after BBC. Nobody showed up. There's not one single fact. And this is why the police years ago dropped the investigation into the Spark Nation family, because these things cannot be substantiated by anything. We've seen a lot of people on the internet and they are all panicking now because I had an approach of not suing. That's our approach. We don't want to sue people that we're trying to help. But now people have been sued. They are removing videos. They are afraid. But we will now fight for our dignity, which we now realize that people can believe things without a single fact. So no, I'm not dangerous. I'm dangerous because I know the law. I can use the law. I abide by the law. 20 years now, I have no indictment. But no gang member is attacking anybody, and they know. So blackmails don't work. People ride on waves. I'm not claiming that we've been a perfect organization, but we have evolved. We are getting better by the day, and a lot of thousands of young people are still thronging to this work.
Let's take a breather, everyone. Pastor Tobi, when we return, I'd like to get your view on Kemi Badenoch and some of our views on Nigeria, Yoruba, Northern Nigeria. Plus, you are one of those who spoke about President Tinubu's emergence when he won the election. We get more when we return from this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Pastor Tobi Adegboyega, the leader of the SPAC Nation, whose activities and personality has come under the spotlight by some United Kingdom institution, is our guest tonight on the program, and it's live for us from London. Thank you so much, Pastor Tobi, for your time tonight.
Thank you again.
Let's go back to the conversation, and I imagine that a lot of lessons must have been taken away from some of the controversies that have come out of your activities, some of what SPAC Nation is doing and what you are also being involved with. There are those who will argue that in a lot of ways, observers will question whether the blending of extravagant lifestyles, pop culture, religious teachings, they risk the dilution of the authenticity of faith-based messages. How do you convince those who perhaps are confused and thinking that, well, is this guy really a pastor? And perhaps, have you learned anything from all of the controversies in the probe and the spotlight that have come on you and your group?
We've learned things. We've learned things around how to restructure ourselves, which is what we've done. The Sky News did a documentary about the houses. We call them trap houses in court, which is Take Risk and Prosper. They did a documentary, which was a fine documentary. It was still online. But we also realized that we have to restructure those houses. They were growing in proportions that we didn't think. And so we've learned lessons about restructuring. We've learned lessons about retraining our leaders for more effectiveness. How do I convince those who say, is he a pastor or not? I'm asking them to read history. That change makers are usually not the conventional styled people, that there are people with divergent mindsets. But what is faith? Faith is work. I cannot sit down. I can't do it. I can't sit down in the four walls of a church and keep practicing something that has not been effective, especially in the community that I live in. They don't regard churches anymore in the UK. Churches are just filled with black people from the same country. I can't do that. And looking at young people dying, my system works because that's faith. Faith is works. To save people from the streets, that is the new pastoring. To make sure you create pathways and platforms for people not to go back to their old lifestyle. That is pastoring, and that's what we're defining now. I understand that people may not understand that at the beginning, people stone what they don't understand. But also, ultimately, our lessons that we've taken away is to stay true to ourselves. The blend of what I wear and all that, what I wear is inconsequential to the lives on the streets that needs to be saved. Every Sunday, we have people coming to the altar to give their life to Christ. The numbers are there. We make these things public. I ask the churches that wants me to be Orthodox or Christians that wanted me to be Orthodox, go to UK churches. How many young people are still there? How many people come to the altar? Do they submit their guns, their knives, their drugs on the altar? Something is working for my system. It's online. Don't just check BBC negative documentary. They did the ones that actually showcase the church. I will stick to the systems that work. We will continue to evolve as well.
Let me ask you, because you've said that there might be disgruntled people from an organization that is set up. But are you willing and are you able tonight to apologize to those who feel vulnerable and manipulated? There are those who alleged that using their history and their profile to manipulate and use them for some scams being the order of the day and the modus operandi in your group, and the allegations of using vulnerable people. Are you able to apologize to some of these people who are aggrieved, who left your group, who thought that Pastor Tobi and what he represents is a scam, a fraud, and not sincere?
I would wish to apologize, but I would wish that they are truthful. If anybody brings up a case that is truthful, that is not just them and their partner or boyfriend scamming themselves and putting it on Spark Nation, I would wish to apologize to them. But first, to apologize, I'm asking them to come forward with facts. Don't lie to the world. As a matter of fact, I think they owe the Nation family an apology, because most of these people lived in our houses, wore our clothes, ate our food, and then played the victim riding on a wave. So on the other side, if there are people who felt that they believed the message and they've changed their mind about the message, I apologize to them. But we are standing where we're still standing. Our system is still the same, even though more matured, but we're also asking the world.
But that means you've seen and you've heard some of these stories. Do you feel bad that some of these people go away with this bad impression and bad experience about your group?
I feel bad that some of these people feel this way, but some of them I know personally. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Michelle. I know them personally. Still, they are yet to come up with facts. I want facts so that we can deal with things appropriately. Don't just sit on the internet and say things that you cannot prove. So as much as I want to feel bad, because I'm human, we are human. So I'm not thinking we are infallible. I'm just saying that we think and believe, looking at all these stories, and in support with what the police have said, that most of these stories are made up. And we're still saying the same thing till today. So if people are fact, if things have been done wrongly, we want to apologize, but give us the opportunity to do so with justice.
Are you bold enough to stand in front of the law and be prosecuted if found guilty of some of these things? Are you willing to?
I've stood in front of the law for 7 hours. Did you not read the judgment? They wrote every other thing about. The judge themselves said not one indictment. 7 hours. Though most people that are black, you've had immigration problem, and that's why I'm saying people are laughing about this. At least I'm happy that immigrants have something to laugh about. Those who live a lot, at least you have something to laugh about now, because usually there's nothing to laugh about our lives here. So I'm happy you are becoming real, but I must tell you now that standing in front of the law, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years of noise, there's nothing that can come up against us. We stand tall among the nations.
It does look to me that you have a feeling that a black man in the United Kingdom, for example, may have a bias against him or her Well, if you look at what Ms. Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the opposition in the United Kingdom, said in her commentaries about Nigeria, let me get your views on some of the things that he said. For someone who also growing up in Nigeria, you had that experience, and you've lived in the United Kingdom for a lot of years. What do you make of Ms. Badenoch's statements and commentaries about Nigeria?
I completely disagree with her statement. In 2023, 2024, 78,000 bags snatched in the UK. In London and the UK alone, 78,000 phones snatched. So I disagree with this statement. And there is a very strong Nigerian black community in this nation. People who have been fighting for people like the leader of the opposition that you just mentioned, for people like her to get to that position. People like Nims Ogonge, MBE, OBE, they've been fighting on the street. They were at funerals when our kids are killed in the UK. They buried kids, three kids from same parents. And we asked the question, when the community, Nigerian community, go through all these things in the UK, where are these voices? They've been fighting. The Windrush, which has to do with Jamaicans, people have been fighting before a black person of black heritage can ascend to those seats. So we cannot dissociate from where we're coming from. And we are not denying the fact that our country have issues. But we are also not as old as as advanced economy or advanced nations like Great Britain is. But we cannot say things are all dark, because it's not true. We live on the street here. We know the street. We know what's going on. Do you know that prisons have more black young people than schools? So there are more young black people in prisons in the UK, in mostly mental hospitals, than we have in schools. What did SPAC Nation do? We started sending people to Harvard, Cambridge. We have the highest network in Imperial College to turn the tides of these things, and they are brilliant Nigerians. So yes, our country has its own issues, but definitely not true.
All right.
What leader of the opposition is saying.
It appears you celebrated the emergence of President Tinubu when he won the election. What do you think about his performance so far?
I think our country has had issues for many years because of bad leadership or no leadership. But I also think that our own focus, the reason why some of our visions align, is their focus and determination to help the nation. For example, what they are doing with SMEs. I mentioned that we ourselves in private capacity have helped over 250 SMEs in Nigeria. Just like we did here, 140 SMEs we've raised in the UK and added to the economy. We believe that if a government understands SMEs as the rock, as the pillar of their economy, then things will be fixed. It may take time. So they chose a 35-year-old person, the current administration, to lead the SMEs, to help small businesses. I think that's going to yield results in times to come. So we are not sentimental or emotional. We know that just like every nation in the world is going through crisis, our nation is going through very difficult times, very difficult times. I've been involved in Nigeria for years. I've distributed food, education, built businesses, employment, and I'm still doing the same in private capacity. So I'm not speaking for the government, but I'm saying that there are certain policies that are brought to the forefront, and these policies, I believe in time, will yield.
On a final note, there are those who agitate or who wanted you back in Nigeria when the news of your deportation came up. Would you be willing to maybe spread your tentacles more or make your base as more deep-rooted, like as you have it in the United Kingdom? Or those folks who wanted you back in Nigeria, maybe you want to rejoin them?
There's no time I won't be back to Nigeria. I wonder why some people are making it news. It's my country. And as a matter of fact, I'll be bigger in Nigeria than here. That's the fact. And even the judges understand that. I'll be back the moment I get what rightfully belongs to me, what rightfully belongs to us, and we're going to help our country. I'm a nation-building person. That's why the work I lead is called SPAC Nation. We want to build qualified Nigerians here, and we've done so. We have thousands of them who can also come back to Nigeria and Africa and help the cause of nation building. I'm an addict of nation building, and that's what I've been planning. I've been doing, building men and women who can help our beloved countries.
Tobi Adegboyega is the leader of the SPAC Nation, popularly called Pastor Tobi, is speaking with me live from London. Thank you so much, Pastor Tobi, for your time tonight.
Thank you, Shem.
I appreciate it. But that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Wakimbaloye. God bless Nigeria.